Hi guys, welcome back to Zalin Fashion. My name is Othering the Kabirat. Please, if you are new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share. So today I'm going to be teaching you how I made this beautiful dress. And without further ado, let's dive right into our video. The first thing we are going to be doing is we are going to mark 1 inches, which will serve as our starting point. So after marking the 1 inches, you're going to go ahead to connect your lines. Then we'll go ahead to take our vertical measurements. The first measurement to be taken is our arm length, which is our shoulder to waist. So in my case it's 16 inches, so I marked 16 inches, then connected my lines like so. The next measurement I'll be taking is my waist to hips measurement. My waist to hips measurement is 9 inches, then connect. The next thing we'll be determining is our dress length, and the dress length I'm using is 35.5 inches. I marked 35.5 inches, then went ahead to connect my lines like so. Then I went ahead to label the lines. So now the next thing I'm going to be doing is I'll be marking 3 inches, which is a standard neckline measurement, and my shoulder measurement, which is 7.5 inches. 15 divided by 2, 7.5. So I went down by 1 inches from the shoulder, then connected it to my neckline like so. Now I'm going to go ahead to measure my armhole. In my case it is 7.5. Your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. So I marked 7.5, then connected my line, then I labeled it. This is your bust line. So now you're going to go ahead to connect your armhole line. So after doing that, you're going to go ahead to measure your bust measurement divided by 4. So my bust measurement divided by 4 is 8.5 plus 1 inches allowance. Then I went ahead to take my waist measurement divided by 4, which is 7 inches plus 1 inches sewing allowance. I'm not using that for this dress. Also, I went ahead to take my hips measurement divided by 4, which is 9.75 plus 1 inches allowance. So on your hemming line, you're just going to go ahead to measure whatever you have on your hips line minus 2, then you mark it. Then I'm going to go ahead to connect my lines like so. Ignore that line, I made a mistake. So connect using my curve. Then I went ahead to connect it to my hemming line to give me that pencil shape that I want. Please ignore this initial line, it was a mistake. So now I'm going to go ahead to determine the midpoint of my armhole. In my case it is 3.75 inches. Then I went in by 3/4 inches. Then I went ahead to use my curve to connect it like so. Then I used a straight ruler to connect it like so. Mind you, I will be drafting my back and front together. So now this is my back armhole. So after doing that, I went ahead to determine my neckline. I want a neckline depth of 6 inches and width of about 5 inches. So you're going to place your tape like this, then just go ahead to slant it like so to mark your 5 inches, then connect it together. Then I went ahead to take half inches seam allowance on my neckline and my armhole, then connected it together like so. So then I went ahead to take 1 inches on my hemming line also, then connect it like so. So now I'm going to go ahead to cut it out. Make sure you are cutting the back armhole line first. So I use the same neckline for the front and back piece. So now I'm just going to go ahead to place this on my fabric and on my lining. But before that, what I did was that I measured 1 inch zip allowance all through. Then I went ahead to place my pattern on top. Again, I measured 1 inch zip allowance all through. Then I went ahead to place my fabric on top, then cut it all through. So this is what I have. Also, I went ahead to do the same on my fabric. I placed my lining on my fabric, then I went ahead to cut it out like so. So this is what our back pattern looks like, but before going ahead to the front, we are going to go ahead to cut it up for the lining and for the fabric. So now we have two pieces for the lining and we have two pieces for the main fabric, as you can see. So now we are going to go ahead to modify our pattern paper to cut out the front piece. So what I'm going to do is just that I'm going to mark ½ inches, then I'm going to connect it. Mind you, I'm taking ½ inches on my front armhole line. So now I went ahead to connect it using my ruler and my curve. So after doing that, I'm going to go ahead to cut that part out, then cut it out on my lining. I also did the same for the main fabric. So this is what it looks like. So I went ahead to mark 2 inches, then cut it out, because I don't want a situation whereby my lining is coming out of the main fabric. So I took 2 inches out. So on the front pattern now, I'm marking 2 inches, then I went ahead to draw a straight line, then cut it out. I also did the same for the back pattern. I took 2 inches out, then went ahead to draw a straight line, then cut it out also. So for our sleeve, mark 1 inches down from the edge of the paper, then you're going to go ahead to connect your lines like so. So then mark your cap's height. My cap's height is 3.5 inches, then you're going to go ahead to connect it like so. So after connecting, you are going to go ahead to mark the length of your sleeve. In my case, I want 24 inches. I marked 24 inches, then I connected the lines. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking my armhole measurement, which is 7.5 inches plus ½ inches for it, plus 1 inches sewing allowance. Then I'm going to go ahead to place my ruler like so, then connect it to my cap's height. After doing that, I'm going to also measure 9 inches on that line, then connect it to my cap's height like so. So now that we are done connecting, I'm going to go ahead to determine the midpoint. So the midpoint is 5 inches because I have a total of 10 inches. From that 5 inches, I came up by ½ inches. Then I went ahead to use my ruler to connect it like so. Then I used my armhole curve to connect it like so. So this is going to be for the back pattern. So for the front pattern, just go ahead to place your ruler like so from that midpoint, then connect it like so, then flip it over again and connect it like so to that midpoint. So now we are done with our sleeve. This is for the front and this is for the back. So I'm going ahead to cut it out. So now that we are done cutting out the back, open it up, then cut out the front. So now I've gone ahead to cut out my fabric using my pattern paper. Now that we are done doing that, we are going ahead to sew. So what you're going to do is, this is our front lining. You're going to open it up, then place the back pattern on top of the front piece like so. Also place the other side like so. Then you're going to go ahead to hem it and sew up the sides by 1 inches because I left 1 inches allowance. Also sew up the shoulder by ½ inches. Also, I'm also going to do that for the main fabric, 1 inches by the sides and ½ inches for the shoulder. So now this is what it looks like. Also, for the fabric I did the same. This is what it looks like after I'm done sewing both. So now what you're going to do is you're going to open it up, then place it on top of each other. Make sure it is the right size of the main fabric on the right side of your lining. Make sure, then go ahead to pin it down all through, like so, from the back to the front, then to the back, as you can see. So that's, you're going to sew it up by 1/2 inches. Again, you're going to sew all around by 1/2 inches. So this is what it looks like after sewing it up. So now we are going ahead to fold the sleeves so we'll be able to pass our elastic. So after doing that, I'm going to pass my elastic for the sleeve. Make sure you fold the hemming of the sleeve using your machine, then pass your elastic, then sew it down with your machine. And I went ahead to sew up the sides of our sleeve. So now I've already fixed one of the sleeve, so I'm going to be teaching you how I'm going to fix the other sleeves. So I'm just going to place my sleeve like so. Make sure you notch the edge of your sleeve and make sure it's aligning with the shoulder, with the shoulder where you sewed up your shoulder, and make sure this point also is aligning with this point where you sewed up your dress by the sides. So then pin it down all through, then you're going to go ahead to sew it by 1/2 inches on your machine. So this is what it looks like after sewing up our sleeves. And you can see it looks so beautiful already. So after sewing your sleeves, also I went ahead to sew it up at the back, leaving about 2 inches for the slit. Then I went to sew it up. So now I'm going to go ahead to insert my zip on. Make sure you take you're placing your zip on your 1 inches line. If you remember, we took 1 inches for our zip. So now I'm placing my zip like so, then sewing it all through for both sides. So now this is what it looks like after sewing up my zip. So now I'm just going to go ahead to take it to the mannequin for you to see the end point. So this is what we have. If you enjoyed this video, please and please and please and please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like, comment and share. Tell your friends that are interested in learning how to sew. See you in my next video. Bye.